You are listening to Golden State, the Warriors who embody empire and modernity in sports by Zia Riaz. I hope you enjoy.
Smith will bring it up, throw up a three, rebound Curry, and the dream season is now complete. The Golden State Warriors are the 2015 NBA champions, their first title in 40 years. One of the great playoff runs of all time is complete. The Warriors are NBA champions again. Final seconds here of this 2018 NBA season. There's the buzzer. There's a new dynasty in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors champions once again, back-to-back titles, 3 in 4 years, and the latest with a sweep. And that'll do it. It's over. The Golden State Warriors return to a familiar place. They're on top of the NBA world. The 4th title in 8 years. The Dubs dynasty is still very much alive.
Today, Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors are household names across the U.S. and perhaps even across the world as the NBA continues with its campaign of globalization. This was not always the case, as many years ago the Warriors were just another middle-of-the-road NBA team. You may be wondering how they're able to accomplish this, and the good news is I can explain it to you. Just sit back and listen to the story. Along the way, you will hear about how the narrative of the Warriors represents the same themes of empire and modernity that are seen so often throughout history. Just remember, the Golden State Warriors portray the empires of history and embrace modernity through sport because their dominance over the entire NBA was felt for many years, but with it came a downfall just as sharp as the rise, and as well by developing a new strategy to win games that is now the norm across the league.
Number 7 pick, the youngest team in the NBA, picking 7th. Commissioner David Stern has the card for a team that used 47 different starting lineups. Here's the commissioner.
With the 7th pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Stephen Curry from Davidson College.
On June 25th, 2009, the Golden State Warriors drafted Stephen Curry, a 6'3" guard out of Davidson. Despite what we know now, the pick was not perceived as a home run at the time. Jay Billis, the commentator on the ESPN draft show, said that in order to succeed at the next level, Curry needed to improve his shot selection and overall decision-making. As well, there are rumors that the Warriors were going to trade him to the Suns following the draft. On the other hand, there were some people who were, correctly, excited about the pick. Mark Purdy from the Mercury News wrote in his article that the Warriors showed, quote, exceptional judgment by drafting Curry with the 7th pick. After the Warriors announced that Curry would not be traded, Purdy again wrote that the Warriors showed even more exceptional judgment. In a moment of foreshadowing, Purdy even went as far as to say that he would prefer to keep Curry over any other point guard on the team, Monta Ellis included. After drafting Curry, the Warriors remained a below-average team, missing the playoffs for the next 2 seasons. In 2011, the Warriors brought in Bob Myers to be the assistant general manager, with a plan to promote him to general manager when he was ready. Myers was a former agent, which was part of the reasoning that Warriors owner Joe Lacob gave for his hiring. The Warriors were looking for someone who was experienced with the business side of basketball, and in that regard, Lacob described Myers as a superstar in his own right. On April 24, 2012, the Golden State Warriors promoted Bob Myers to the position of general manager. Despite not being on the court, Myers played a key role in creating the Warriors dynasty. Myers assembled a roster that was capable of adapting the modern system of basketball for which the Warriors became famous. Without him, it is hard to say that the Warriors would have had as much success as they did.
With the 11th pick in the 2011 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Klay Thompson from Washington State University.
On June 23, 2011, the Warriors drafted Klay Thompson with the 11th pick in the NBA draft. The Warriors were criticized by draft analyst Chad Ford for making an overly conservative selection. While he liked Thompson, Ford thought the Warriors should have taken a bigger swing by drafting a player like Kawhi Leonard or Alec Burks and gave them a draft grade of B, far from excellent. Despite Leonard becoming an excellent NBA player in his own right, and who has not been mentioned for the last time in this podcast, even if the Warriors could go back and redo their selection, it is hard to imagine they change it. Nowadays, Klay Thompson is known for being one half of the Splash Brothers with Stephen Curry and is a foundational part of the empire that was the Golden State Warriors. In March of 2012, the Warriors decided to trade Monta Ellis along with some other players to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for Andrew Bogut and Stephen Jackson. In retrospect, this trade was huge for the Warriors' success. The trade meant that the Warriors were fully committed to Stephen Curry as their guy. At the time, it was consensus that the Warriors would have to trade either Ellis or Curry because they could not play together. On the other hand, there was not a consensus on who the Warriors should keep. When asked about the trade years later, Curry himself commented that I don't know how true it was, but then Coach Mark Jackson actually said, if I didn't get hurt, I might have been in the trade. In the end, Golden State chose Curry, meaning he was now the face of the franchise, and he would grow to become the face of the empire. It also allowed Klay Thompson to gain a larger role as he took Ellis' starting spot, which no doubt has been extremely beneficial for the Warriors. At the time, however, it was not a popular opinion that Golden State had made a good trade. In a Bleacher Report article published the day of the trade titled Warriors-Bucks Trade, Winners and Losers in Monta Ellis and Andrew Bogut Deal, the Bucks were considered the winners while the Warriors were considered the losers. Now that it's in the past, you could call the Warriors many words for that trade. A few things that come to mind are visionaries and insightful. One word you cannot call them now is losers. However, at the time, that was actually a fairly accurate description of the team. After making the trade, the Warriors went 5-22 for the rest of the year. Despite their bleak reality, the future was bright for the Warriors, and it would only continue to get brighter.
When I saw that I was going to the Warriors, I was ecstatic about it, especially along with these two guys, bringing in a draft class like this and looking at the pieces that we already have. I love winning, and you put some places like this in place, and with the guys we already have here, I think we can start winning some games.
You just heard from Draymond Green, being interviewed after his selection in the 2012 NBA draft by the Golden State Warriors. Green's proclamation would end up becoming true, as the Warriors would end up winning a lot with him, as well as the other two players they selected in the draft that year, Harrison Barnes and Festus Ezeli, who both played roles in the Warriors' first NBA championship. That championship is still several years down the line, and at the moment, Green would have to focus on getting on the court. As a second-round pick, the expectations for Green were low, but he managed to overcome the odds and become irreplaceable for the Warriors during their successful run as an empire. In his first draft as general manager, Myers proved to be the wizard that he was made up to be. At the beginning of the 2012-2013 season, it was time for Stephen Curry to either receive an extension to his contract or be allowed to hit free agency in near time. The Warriors decided to give Curry a 4-year contract worth $11 million per year, a deal that would soon prove to be a bargain. Mark Stein, a senior writer at ESPN, wrote about the contract that Golden State was keen to secure Curry long-term as one of its two cornerstones, alongside center Andrew Bogut, despite Curry's ongoing struggles with ankle problems. A brief note about Bogut. At the time, he was considered to be a budding star as a former number 1 overall draft selection. Bogut was important to the Warriors' championship runs, but he was certainly considered more of a role player than a franchise cornerstone by the time the Warriors were competing for titles. Back to Curry, the concern about his ankles at the time was very real. At the time of the contract extension, he had already had 2 ankle surgeries. Frustrated with missing so much time with injuries, Curry put in a ton of work with the Warriors' performance director, Kiki Lyles, to rebuild his body so that he would not get hurt as much. And his hard work paid off, as Curry was able to stay healthy and play over 77 of the 82 regular season games over the next 5 seasons. In that same 2012-2013 season, the Golden State Warriors began to show their potential. Thanks to a healthy season from Curry and increased production from Thompson, the Warriors won 47 games and made the playoffs for the first time with their new-look roster. Despite losing in the second round, the season was massive for the team, as it was their first breakthrough and proved that they could compete in the Western Conference. After beating him in the first round of the playoffs, the Warriors signed Andre Iguodala to a 4-year deal worth $48 million total. The Warriors had proven to the league that they were next up, which was starting to garner them free agent interest from good players such as Iguodala. The Iguodala signing was obviously a great one for Golden State, and at the time was properly considered one as well. NBA writer Adam Fromel gave the Warriors an A grade on the deal and wrote that as long as Golden State can make savvy signings to fill up the roster, you're looking at a true title contender. The Warriors improved their win total that season to 51, but somewhat disappointingly lost in the first round of the playoffs. In the offseason following their playoff loss, the Warriors surprisingly decided to fire their coach, Mark Jackson. It was rumored he was fired because of his boisterous personality, at times, did not play well with the Warriors management, according to an ESPN article. Regardless of why Jackson was fired, the Warriors were looking to hire a coach who could bring them to the next level, and they found exactly that by bringing in Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr ultimately decided to sign with the Warriors over the Knicks. Kerr was a former player, and his former coach was now the team president of the Knicks, so it was heavily rumored that he was going to New York. When asked what led him to his decision, Kerr simply responded that it just felt like the right move on many levels. Kerr also cited the fact that his family lived in California as a reasoning for the decision. With Kerr, the Warriors had now assembled the three men who would become the figureheads of their empire: Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, and Stephen Curry. The Warriors were ready to dominate the league.
Thank you, Tim, Kia Motors, and Steph Curry. You're the leader of the team that had the best record in the NBA this season. This is a tribute not just to you, but to the entire organization and the great fans here in the Bay Area. It's also particularly special that you're the first player in 55 years as a Warrior to win the MVP. And the last one was, of course, Wilt Chamberlain. So you're in very special company. So it's my honor and my pleasure to present you Steph Curry with the 2014-15 Kia MVP Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Curry.
I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for your support all season long. You guys fuel us every single night, and myself included, so we couldn't have done this without you. This is a very special moment that we'll remember for a long time, but as you know, we got a lot of work to do, so let's get back to it. Thank you very much.
As you might be able to tell me from the audio clip, Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors certainly did dominate the league in the 2014 to 2015 season. Curry won league MVP, receiving 100 out of 130 first-place votes, and the Warriors won 67 games, putting them atop the league standings. After a statement regular season, it was time for the Warriors to prove to the league that they were ready to compete in the playoffs. The Warriors made it out of the Western Conference relatively easily by beating the Pelicans in 4 games, the Grizzlies in 6, and the Rockets in 5. However, the finals would be no easy task. The Warriors were set to face LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. James is considered by many to be the greatest player of all time, and had already won multiple NBA championships at this point in his career. This Warriors team, in their first ever NBA Finals, were facing a tall task.
Smith will bring it up, throw up a three, rebound Curry, and the dream season is now complete. The Golden State Warriors are the 2015 NBA champions, their first title in 40 years.
Partially due to LeBron's two best teammates, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, missing several games in the finals due to injuries, the Warriors defeated the Cavaliers in 6 games, winning their first title. The MVP of the series was given to Andre Iguodala, which highlights how important of a signing he was for the team, but also led to criticism of Curry for a long time, as people believed he should have performed as the best player on the team, despite the fact that they still won. By winning the NBA championship, the Warriors proved they were the best team in the league and took their first large step towards becoming an empire. However, the Warriors were not only the best team in the league, they were also the most innovative. The Warriors won the NBA title playing a different style than everyone else. As described by Ethan Sherwood-Strauss for ESPN, the Warriors were pioneering a style of switch-heavy, versatile defense combined with a fast-paced offense that's predicated on, yes, jump shooting. Prior to the season, many people did not believe that an NBA team could consistently win while relying on three-pointers, and many used this point to slight the Warriors. Before the season, no team had ever won an NBA championship with over 29% of their field goal attempts being three-pointers. During the 2014 to 2015 season, the Warriors averaged 87 field goal attempts per game, of which 27 were three-pointers. 31% of their field goals were threes. With Steph Curry, a player who does most of his scoring from behind the arc, winning the MVP, and the Warriors shooting a historical amount of threes, winning the NBA championship, there was no room to argue against this strategy anymore. The Warriors were playing modern basketball, and the rest of the league would be forced to adapt. As Strauss ended his article saying, Golden State married the game-changing offense of the recent past with a defense that feels futuristic. They did it with a skinny point guard who thrilled national audiences lofting 30-footers over 7-footers. They did the unexpected with an unconventional approach. Now the league takes their lead, chasing after their spot. Well, by the start of the next season, the rest of the league was still playing catch-up with the Golden State Warriors, as they began the season by winning 24 straight games. After the first loss, the Warriors' assistant coach, Luke Walton, almost seemed disappointed that they had not lost a game earlier, claiming that winning covers up a lot of our mistakes. Our guys, they know how to win, but by doing that, you don't get the same focus and growth on the little things. The Warriors ended up finishing the season with a record of 73-9, setting an NBA record for wins in a season. Not only were they the first team to win 73 games, they were the first team to win the initial 24 games of the season, the first team to win 34 road games in a season, the first team to not lose to the same team twice in one season, and the first team to not lose 2 games back-to-back in an entire season. As well, Stephen Curry broke the record for most three-pointers made in a season, a record he already held with 402, on his way to winning the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. The Warriors seemed to be accomplishing everything on their way to becoming a true empire. All they had to do was win the championship. After winning their first 2 playoff series in 5 games, the Warriors had a tough conference championship but ultimately beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in 7 games. The Warriors were back in the finals, playing the same team they just beat the year before, the Cleveland Cavaliers led by LeBron James. The Warriors began their finals just as strong as they had started everything else all season, reaching a 3-1 lead after 4 games. At that point, teams up 3-1 in the finals had never lost the series, with a record of 32-0. All the Warriors had to do was win one more game to cement the greatest season in NBA history.
Rebound taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James!
Just like that, the Warriors had become the first team to ever blow a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals. What could have been one of the greatest seasons in NBA history quickly became one of the most embarrassing losses. The Warriors were sent home and left with a lot of thinking about what was to come next. After such a devastating loss, the Warriors handled themselves in the only way a rising empire knows how: regroup and become more powerful. That offseason, the Warriors certainly got more powerful. On July 4th, 2016, the Warriors signed Kevin Durant, who is already one of the best players in the league, and who they had just beaten in the Western Conference Finals the year before. Durant explained his decision by saying that Golden State was the place which offers the greatest potential for my contribution and personal growth. How did the fans and media react to one of the league's best players joining the team that just set the record for wins in a season? Well, why don't you listen to Stephen A. Smith talk about his thoughts.
How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it.
As animated as Stephen A. Smith is, his claims in that clip mostly reflect the general consensus of fans at the time. Many people were extremely upset by the move, as it seemed like that with Durant on the Warriors, if they stayed healthy, it was a foregone conclusion that they would win the championship. And as it turned out, that claim was exactly right. So if it seems as though I'm going through these next seasons at a rapid pace, it is because everybody already knew the result. In the 2016 to 2017 season, the Warriors won 67 games, breezed through the Western Conference to face the Cavaliers in the finals. And just like everybody thought,
The Warriors are NBA champions again.
in the 2017 to 2018 season, the Warriors only won 58 games, but it did not matter as they coasted through the Western Conference to face the Cavaliers in the finals for the fourth straight time. And for the second straight time,
Final seconds here of this 2018 NBA season. There's the buzzer. There's a new dynasty in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors champions once again, back-to-back titles, 3 in 4 years, and the latest with a sweep.
despite making the NBA boring to many people, Kevin Durant did win back-to-back Finals MVPs while playing for the Warriors. This feeling of inevitability and continued success fully cemented the Warriors as an empire. However, this stretch of dominance had to end at some point, and it turned out to be sooner rather than later. The next year, Golden State was still remarkable in the regular season, winning 57 games. However, it seemed as though tensions within the team had risen throughout the season, as in a game in early November, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green got in a screaming match on the court which continued into the locker room. While nothing resulted of the fight in the moment, it certainly seemed to be the stem for decisions that took place later down the line. Like the two past seasons, the Warriors marched to the NBA Finals, but this year they are matched up with a new team, the Toronto Raptors. Do you remember what I said earlier when I said it seemed like the Warriors would win every single NBA championship if they stayed healthy? Well, health became a massive issue for them in the 2019 Finals. In Game 5, Kevin Durant tore his Achilles, a massive injury that put him out not only for the series but a long time after as well. In Game 6, Klay Thompson suffered a torn ACL, putting him out for the foreseeable future. With those two massive injuries, the streak of dominance was over for the Warriors as they lost to the finals to the Toronto Raptors. That offseason, Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors for the Brooklyn Nets. The decision could have been made because of the fight with Draymond Green, or because of the constant negative attention he was receiving from the media, or maybe that he just wanted a change of scenery. Regardless, Kevin Durant was now gone from the Warriors. In the same offseason, Andre Iguodala was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. With Durant and Iguodala now gone, it seemed as though the Warriors were headed into a new era, and one that many people thought would be their downfall. The season following the departure of Durant and Iguodala was not a bright one for the Warriors. With Klay still out from his injury from the finals, the team was already struggling when Steph Curry broke his hand early in the season, meaning that he was out for the year as well. Without Curry and Thompson, the Warriors only won 15 games in a season cut short by the COVID-19 virus, and it seemed as though the Warriors might never get back to the glory they once had. This might be the downfall of the empire. The next season, 2020 to 2021, Curry was able to return, but due to setbacks, Thompson was not. With Thompson's absence, the Warriors were able to see some new players shine. Andrew Wiggins, who they had traded for the year prior but had not been able to play much with the team due to COVID, looked to be a key piece. As well, the Warriors drafting in 2019 Jordan Poole seemed to be developing into a solid player. With another shortened season due to COVID, the Warriors did not have a very significant year, but looked to be improving from the season prior. Despite a promising previous season, no one could have predicted what was to come for the Warriors in the 2021 to 2022 season. In fact, Kendrick Perkins even expressed his pessimism for the Warriors having any chance of winning a championship with Curry ever again in the summer before the season.
How many titles do you see Steph Curry winning over the next 4 years?
You know what? I hate to say this right now, but to be honest with you, I don't see the Golden State Warriors bringing home another championship. And here's why. When I'm watching Bob Myers, and I love Bob Myers, he was my former agent before he took over the general manager job with the Golden State Warriors. He's just not being aggressive right now when it comes down to in the offseason.
While that clip aged horribly, at the time, many people would have agreed with him. It did not seem like the Warriors had a serious chance to win the NBA Finals once again. However, everything that season went right. Curry continued his dominance and played as one of the best players in the league. Andrew Wiggins had the most impactful season of his career, making the All-Star team. Draymond Green joined Curry and Wiggins as a member of the All-Star team himself. Klay Thompson returned, and while he was not the same player he once was due to the serious injuries he experienced, he still provided a spark offensively. And lastly, Jordan Poole became an electrifying player, leading to some to proclaim him as the third Splash Brother alongside Curry and Klay. The Warriors won 53 games that year, making the playoffs and beating the Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Mavericks on their way to the finals. In the finals, they faced the Boston Celtics in what would certainly be a difficult series.
Do it. It's over. The Golden State Warriors return to a familiar place. They're on top of the NBA world. The fourth title in 8 years. The Dubs dynasty is still very much alive.
The Warriors were able to beat Boston in 6 games, in large part due to the experience Curry, Thompson, and Green had over the younger Celtics, but also due to the contributions of Wiggins and Poole. Steph Curry finally won his first Finals MVP, and it seemed as though the Warriors' empire would live on. Unfortunately, the 4th championship would be the final peak for the Warriors. In the 2 seasons after winning the championship, the Warriors would only make the playoffs once. Before the start of the 2022 to 2023 season, a video from Warriors practice of Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole leaked. This led to Green stepping away from the team for a period of time and ultimately culminated in the Warriors trading Poole to the Washington Wizards the next offseason. The same offseason that they traded Poole, Bob Myers decided to leave the Warriors front office. When asked why, Myers simply said, "It's just time." Now, before this current 2024 to 2025 season, Klay Thompson decided to leave Golden State for the Dallas Mavericks. With the loss of Myers and Thompson, despite the fact that Curry, Green, and Kerr are still there, combined with the lack of recent success, to me signifies that the Warriors' empire has finished. To recap, the Golden State Warriors portrayed the empires of history and embraced modernity through sport by winning 4 championships in 8 years and developing a new strategy of playing basketball that is now the prevailing methodology around the league. The Warriors and Steph Curry becoming the symbol of modernity in basketball will be the largest part of their legacy, far more important than any championship they won. The statistics show that the modern form of basketball that the Warriors popularized has been adopted and expanded far beyond anyone's imagination could have perceived when the Warriors made their first run in 2015. In 2015, during their first championship run, Steph Curry led the league in three-point attempts and was the only player in the entire league to attempt 8 three-pointers a game. This season, there are currently 24 players attempting 8 three-pointers a game. In 2016, the Warriors changed the league by attempting 31.6 three-pointers a game. That number is lower than the amount of threes that every single team in the NBA is attempting this year. As much as the Warriors were a true empire of sport, the greatest teams of all time will be a topic that is debated for as long as basketball exists. However, the Warriors' representation of modernity and the manner in which they fully changed the game of basketball cannot be debated. Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors are the most influential basketball players ever. Thank you for listening to Golden State, the Warriors who embody empire and modernity in sports. I hope you enjoyed.